Hey, welcome to another episode of Becoming a TechnoWizard. So sorry, I did the one thing I did not want to do this week, and use this break as a excuse to not do the videos. So sorry. Okay, I wanted to see. I don't know if y'all could hear this background. I had somebody pressure washing their house two two uh two houses down. It's kind of loud, but I don't think you could hear it. Yeah, the microphone doesn't seem to be picking it up. All right, so whew, it's been a great week in terms of just resting up a little bit. For some reason, I woke up today feeling super tired, and I actually had a really good night's rest. Like I had a full 8 hours. I don't know, but it is what it is. I had a great talk with my friends, one of my closest friends from Europe. He's just always like pushing me to go beyond. He's in UX design too. He also is trying to be a product designer, and we always have some great conversations about how to how to put ourselves out there, how to make ourselves kind of like the best choice for career wise. How to maneuver ourselves, how to stand out, because we're both like almost in the same kind of general area. Like he started his boot camp. He went to Lambda, started his boot camp a little bit, few months before me. So right now he's applying for jobs, freelancing a little bit. So he gives me some feedback. I give him feedback, stuff like that. But we just had a great conversation, and it inspired me to get back to showing what I've been doing, not just on my course projects, but just on my own time. And as you all know, or whoever watches these videos, I have a lot of projects, but one of the key ones is my portfolio, which I want to be something unique. I want to be like something that really um, cries out to who I am, that really showcases who I am in terms of wanting to create innovative designs from a 2D aspect as well as a 3D aspect. But the difficulty with that is that with 3D, you always wonder, what's the use case here? What's the usability, advantage of having a 3D space? And it's kind of difficult to do that for a portfolio that is not necessarily um, exclusively for like a 3D modeling or something like that, or game development. Like I wouldn't mind getting into like a career for game development or 3D modeling, but one, I'm not a 3D modeler, and two, I don't consider myself as like a game designer or like a artist, for a game. I just like design, and I just happen to like 3D design the most because I feel like using spatial recognition, spatial interfaces, brings a lot more to the table. So my difficulty in creating my portfolio is going to be around how to build a portfolio in which shows the meaning and the benefit and the value. The value is really what I'm looking for here, of having a 3D space, and at the same time making sure it has a high usability, meaning people can easily understand what to do here, where to go, navigation, from everything from navigation to content, has to be very clear, um, for to stand out as a UX designer. So I want to portray all of that. At the same time, I don't want to make my portfolio like everybody else makes it, as just like, oh, here's my website, come see my stuff. I want to be a product designer. I want to be a designer, So I want to use a design process to create my portfolio, meaning I want to break down what the problem is that I'm trying to solve for my portfolio. In this case, is getting a job, is connecting with people to, get my foot into a good career. And then I want to research my target audience, my customers, my users, which are going to be most likely senior designers, or maybe even mid-level designers. It's going to be HR representatives or recruiters. So I'm going to have to look at these different people and see which one of them are my top priority for customers. And then I need to research. I need to go out there and interview them. So it's going to be good for me because it's part of the networking process. But at the same time, it's going to be a little bit worrying, because as when you're trying to find customers as a for usability testing, you're not necessarily worried too much about, hey, they're going to see my project in a state that of unreadiness, like they're going to see an unfinished product, and you're not too worried about that having a negative side, because the whole point of it is to build, is to learn, stuff like that. But for a portfolio, I kind of, oh wow, it's raining, sheesh. Um, Luckily, we have a little umbrella here, so it's gonna stay a little bit under it. um, but for a portfolio, even though you still have those same concepts, like you still want to learn, grow, all that stuff. I'm worried that it's gonna come off as what my current skill level is if I show them, hey, this is my, this is what I want to build. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. I do have a tendency to doubt myself a lot. So, but I do think this is the right way to go, because like, it's this is a portfolio, is a product like anything else, you know. And as a product designer, as a UX designer, you're gonna have the same. Wow, it is really coming down. All right, I'm gonna have to go inside, I guess. I'm gonna have to take this down. All right, might have to pause this. Okay, inside now. All right, so what was I saying? Yeah, I think I might doubt myself a little bit too much in terms of seeing this product, this portfolio, as a designed project. But I think it is the right way to go about it. It might be a little bit more work than just building a portfolio like you would usually build a website or something like that. But I think it's the right way to go. But I'm gonna go ahead and show, because I promised to myself that if I skip too many days, I'm gonna have to show my what I've been doing on the side, my Flubbi project. Um, I'm super embarrassed about that, because I haven't been making enough very much progress on that, and it's definitely not good. But whatever, gotta keep my promises to myself. So yeah, here is my current progress on Flubbi. For those that don't know, Flubbi is my idea for the ultimate creativity tool for the average person. You know, um, there's a lot of tools online, or just software in general, for making things, making digital projects or something like that. 3D modeling, game design, everything from Unity and Unreal to 3D Maya and Blender, stuff like that. But there is not really any products for the average person to easily use digital tools to make their imaginations come, real. It's gotten to the point that people feel like creativity is only a thing, is a skill. Like they think I mean, it's a skill, but they think only certain people have creativity, and only certain people can really be creative. Only certain people can really create something online, or in the world in general. They usually, relegate that to artists, graphic designers, stuff like that. Say, hey, I'm not a creative person. I'm not an artist. And I've been, the perfect example of that. For a long time, I've had all these ideas of hover cars and futuristic cities, and read tons of books and wanted to create my own worlds and all this other stuff. But I never really thought myself as too talented as an artist. So I never considered myself able to create all these ideas, able to visualize all these ideas. And when I did try to learn these tools that they had available, either they were too expensive, they were too difficult to learn, or they just didn't work on my computer. Like I had growing up poor, you don't really have some beefed up computers. You have like 10-year-old, 15-year-old computers. So they can't run all this complicated software. So I wanted to create a software that made it easy for a person, for just an everyday person, to create anything that they can imagine. And granted, I know it's going to be limitations. They won't be able to create like a super high fidelity, game or anything like that, or movie, or this, that, and the other. This is not for professional grade, you know, um, projects or something like that. This is for the average person like me, like you that's watching that. I don't know who's watching. You might be a professional, whatever. But this is for the person that doesn't consider themselves too skilled or have enough money or time to learn something more complicated. This is for the person that just has an idea. It's like, oh, I want to see, what would that look like? Whether it be a character for a D&D game they're playing, or maybe they're just writing a story on the side, or maybe they just have an invention like me that they want to see visualize, and they need a quick way to get it out of their head and onto a and into the real world somehow, somewhere. And so I want this tool to be I want this tool to be that. Another way you can describe it is Canva for 3D space, or Canva for 3D modeling, or Canva for just creativity in general, not just for graphics, not just for graphic design or website design or something like that. And I think that's a great example as well. And it's interesting because I know this is not related to what I have right now, but I think yesterday? I watched a Pioneer. There's a app called Pioneer. I'm not going to explain all that. Just look it up if you want. Pioneer app .com, I think it is. But they had a presentation from the founder of Figma, who's kind of like retro pitching his Figma idea from like 2012, 2011, or whatever. And he pointed out, like, when they were designing Figma, when they were pitching Figma, they saw it as simplifying, almost like what I'm doing now. Like they saw it as simplifying the tools to create for photo editing, because at that point, photo editing was extremely complicated. It still kind of is, but like things like Photoshop and stuff like that is extremely complicated to use. And they thought, what if they can use what if they can make it super accessible? That's why they did it. That's why it's browser based. That's why it's online and stuff like that. But what if it's super accessible and super easy for the average person to use? That's kind of like their goal for Figma. Granted, it has changed a lot. Like nowadays, it's a little bit more complicated to use, and it's kind of more specific towards prototyping and sketching and design in general, not necessarily photo editing. But they still have powerful tools that you can use for that. And maybe, who's to say this project might change towards something like that, but I don't think so. I think it's going to go in a whole different route, because I have a whole different route kind of planned for it. I want this to become something like the Oasis. So for those that read or seen Ready Player One, the Oasis is like the virtual world where the closest thing we have to it today is VR chat, where you can go to a world and anything is possible, right? And but what they don't really talk about too much in the Oasis is that all of it is supposed to be user generated. So you're supposed to be able to create all these different amazing worlds and tools and all this stuff there. But they never really show the tools of how people create these things. And that's what I want this to be. I want this to eventually go into its own world, like be the Flubbiverse, where people can go and create and kind of live in this virtual world, this virtual environment. But I also want them to use this as a tool to create in that environment. So not just importing importing from other tools, but I want them to be able to create the tools for that world here and export anything here to otherwise. There's couple other things I want to solve for it, and it sounds like a lot, but it all comes down to 3 pillars for Flubbi. Number 1 is creativity. I want people to, express. I want everybody to realize they have inherent creativity. Like we as humans are creative beings. That's who we are. That's, we don't have to be artistic per se to be creative. And I want people to realize that. Number 2 is community. I want people to be able to make friends, create relationships, strengthen relationships, and all that stuff through Flubbi, because community is such an important aspect of what it means to be human as well. And we don't have as many tools as we would expect for the digital age to really create meaningful relationships and to facilitate those relationships. And third, self-empowerment. So I want Flubbi to be a tool of self-empowerment, particularly around financial freedom or at least financial stability. So when people create through Flubbi, I want them to be able to easily sell their creations. I want everybody to be able to make money on Flubbi, ideally within the month, within the first month that they're using the tool, maybe even the first week if I can push it that hard, but definitely the first month. So those are all like the focus, like the horizon of where I'm going, but the core I'm focused on right now is just making a creative tool. Then I'll go, beyond for that. But anyways, it's important to say all that because that's what drives the design of the tool on these early stages. But last time I kind of just created, I was saying how I thought I could create a creative tool. So like you create a button, you press a button, and then it creates the shape and all that. But then as I was iterating it, I realized there's a whole lot of limitations around just a button, and it creates it, and then you mold it from there. So I started trying to create a a menu system for easily being able to create what you had. So um, I'm doing it for mobile first because if you can make it work on mobile, you can almost definitely make it work on desktop. Like mobile is so limited in the screen. So if you make it mobile friendly, and there's no tools to be able to create something at this level for mobile right now. So it's a good first kind of foray. But anyways, so this menu is supposed to be a way for people to easily create what they want to create, right? So I try to break down the kind of information architecture of what people would go to first. Then I had the second level, so each one would have like their own kind of uh, additional submenus and stuff like that. So I was messing around with what these menus would look like, messing around with the search option, so that if you search something, it would automatically bring up where in the menu you can find that as you search. So not only can you find anything that you want, but you can also kind of learn how that menu system works by just searching. Um, so I was messing with that. I was, this is some other ways I thought you can create the menu. So on this side, you would have, the things that you put on the screen. This would be like here, like your layers and assets would be on this side, and on this side would be your controls. Um, so if you wanted to input a shape, it will look something like this. Get your shapes there, and then you can get to different shapes. You just slide your thumb up to select one. Here would be like the different. This is how you select your vectors or your edges. So if you want an 8-sided shape or 10-sided shape, you just put the number in there and it generates that shape. Same thing for lines or whatever. Add this thing for 3D. So if you create a 3D one, oh yeah, there we go. So you created a 3D one. So you just have 3D shapes. I think it's self-explanatory, super simple. I haven't tested this, obviously. I've just been working on it like a little bit every night. So it's not to the point like I want to test it. And I was thinking about maybe I should do a design project too where I test this. So instead of building out the app now, I would just have the problem. I'll just do it like a design, have a problem, have a this, that, and the other, and do it from scratch. But the problem is that again, this is not my focus. It's just something I'm doing on the side, and I want it to be my focus one day, but it's not at this point yet. So I think it's Will Smith's quote. You build a wall one brick at a time. And you just every day you just think about what's the best way to lay this one brick. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. So every day I do kind of at least one thing. At least that was the idea of doing one thing, but I honestly have been slacking a lot. Uh, Even before this break. So I need to get back to doing that. But anyways, I also have kind of writing more about what these menus could be. So this will be a quick menu. So whenever you touch something, if you hold it, it will pop up a little menu of some options that you have here. So you can change the camera. So this is supposed to be a 3D space. So the default camera will be like face on, but maybe you can change the camera view so it's side on or top down or whatever. So you can do that. If you wanted to paint it, you can do that here, and it will also you can also do textures, patterns, whatever. And if you mold or draw, so you can this is how you pull it out if you want to pull it out, or if you want to 3D, like I have a 3D pen and you kind of draw around. You can do stuff like that through the air. And then quick shape is just kind of similar to that. You can quickly select a shape. And this is kind of related to these. So again, if you hit the mirror, this is what will pop up. You can flip it, you can mirror lightning. I know this is for advanced, yeah, advanced. So you can do, these actions here. Um, Again, this is just like quick ideas of what it could be. I haven't really tested them out, iterated or anything like that. So it's probably going to change. Um, Same thing for the camera view. So if you do that here, you can view through these options, move the camera or the move or move the object, or you can what's remote? I don't remember what I was thinking there. I have to revisit that. And then paint texture. You can do the skins or have decals. So if you this is again, I see this as like a marketplace thing. So if you have like some skins that you bought, this is where you can access them. um, Paint, same thing here. Maybe you can use different kinds of paint like glossy, matte, stucco, I don't know, whatever types of paints that you have. And same thing for textures, patterns. Might do crisscross, cross hatching, um, whatever, all the patterns that you have, circular patterns, all that stuff. Maybe you bought some, maybe you created some, but whenever you have these things, you can easily access them there. And then the mode to draw, you have the deform, so you can kind of push it in, 3D pen, like I said, draw it or erase. I'm not sure what this one was for. This related here. See, this is why I gotta put like notate my own stuff. But this also shows me like if I don't understand it, and clearly it's not going to be understandable for other people. So I'm gonna have to reimagine what this stuff is like, anyways. Um, yeah, you have trash. You can throw things away. You can undo something. Um, oh yeah, I also had like, okay, trying to figure out what it looks like if you were using this tool. So maybe you select that and it pops up in the middle here. The outer circle is kind of like the selected area. So if you have multiple objects, they won't be highlighted, just won't be highlighted. And then if you wanted to make it bigger, you held it and this thing would pop up. This is from up here, right here. So this thing would pop up and you just move your thumb over to make it larger or smaller. Oh yeah, this is another kind of menu system I had that I was thinking before the last one. So I was thinking maybe, at first you have either modify or create. Like when you hit your menu, if you hold down, this pops up. And if you go to one side, these pop up. If you go to the other side, these pop up. So I don't know, different ways of thinking about it. Um, but I landed on this because there's easy access to all the options that you have at once. So you can easily see everything. Like the problem with hiding options is that it's really difficult for people to know what they can do if you don't show it. But at the same time, I don't want to complicate it and show all these different options. So there's always going to be a trade-off. So I'm going to have to figure out what that looks like and what to do with that. I mean, granted, you can always have like a tutorial. This is what I started here. Yeah, kind of. I was thinking about like how you would advertise this, how would you market it, and that gives me an idea of how I should build it out. And then, oh yeah, here's the tutorial. You can create anything. Would you like to start with a template or from scratch? So, you know, already knows that you have templates, or you can, just do a blank canvas. And then this is not like everything for tutorial, but just when I create stuff for it, sometimes I have an idea of how I would teach it. So this is my idea for that. So on elements, this is just like anything that you select, like in the middle of the screen, we had like that circle there. Yeah, if you select something there, for the first time, you'll have this stuff. It'll say, hey, tap and hold this to push along the x-axis. Show like a picture of what that means. Like x-axis is left and right, and double tap to or hold to pull along the y-axis, so up and down, or rather up and down. And then if you want the z-axis too, maybe you can include that. I'm not sure how yet, but it's something I'm thinking about, because in my limited experience of using 3D modeling tools, it's very frustrating to have to, like, they give you a box and then the X, Y, and Z axis, and you kind of have to drag it along those axes. axes, and that's kind of cumbersome even on a mouse and keyboard. So it's even way harder on the phone. But that's why it's probably not done. But I think it needs to be done. Like the whole reason I'm even pushing for this is it's like very similar to Bret Victor. Bret Victor, he had I think it's designing on principle or something like that, or inventing on principle. Where he talked about like you need to work on things that you feel like would be an injustice um, to why they don't exist. Like the reason I'm working on this is because I really feel like it is crucial, it is critical that your average person has the ability to create anything that they want, you know, without having to say, oh, I can't. Because every time you can't create something with ease, that kills their imagination, that kills their creativity. And so you have people that feel worse about themselves, that they feel inadequate, they feel unempowered, they feel, you know, and then they feel, because of that, they feel closed-minded. They feel just unfulfilled, they feel depressed even because they have no creative outlet. We as humans always, you know, we have always been creative species. Back in the day, that creativity exhausted it, or showcased itself as, you know, creating new weapons to hunt, or to or inventing new ways to live, or new parts of the language, or, you know, just exploring the world where everything was new, right? And just imagine in the kind of old world we walked around every day, not knowing what is what. Like we had a huge, that's why we had so many stories and just myths about the unknown, because everything was unknown. Like today, there's a whole lot that's unknown, but we've kind of fooled ourselves into thinking that we live in a time where there's a lot less unknown than there is known, and that is a dangerous state of mind, because now people tend to be a little bit more arrogant. People tend to be a little bit more privileged, a little bit more entitled to the way that life is today. They think this is all that is. You know, this is all that there will ever be. They think this is the pinnacle of where we have been going all this time. When in reality, it's just the beginning. You know, so I want to bring back that wonder. I want to bring back that creativity. I want to bring back that uh that that idea of exploration and fulfillment through this project. So just kind of got way off track from this tutorial here, but, you know, yeah, that's just so much I want to do with this product. And I know that it's a lot, you know, like you don't want to scope creep and all that other stuff. I understand that, but you have to be ambitious, you know. If you really feel something is important, if you feel something is important to work on, like this is a really hard thing I'm trying to do here. I understand that. Like I've gotten like almost impressed about it so much because I feel like I don't have the skills to create it. But whenever I think about like the need for it, then I get back to it, because there's such a huge need for it. So yeah. Anyways, this is what I have so far. I'm definitely gonna work on a lot more, especially now I made myself talk about it. um, but yeah, that's that. And then I still have to work on my portfolio. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do this, like this idea of having like a pseudo kind of 3D. I was kind of trying to emulate this. Um, so I don't know. I kind of want it to be there because it's so cool, but I'm like, what's the value of this, right? So I don't know. Um, and then when you go to one of these, it pops up like here, and then it has more information about it. But again, what's the value of it? You know, I have to think about it in terms of a usability, in terms of a product designer kind of aspect. So I want to think about that some more. Um, but yeah, thanks for watching. If you did watch, hope you learned something. Please help me keep myself accountable. Gonna do more of these videos. Get back to the thing there. Get back to pushing out these product design videos and whatnot. But thanks again. Hope you have a good day. Bye bye.